Thank you for staying with us. Now we're going to be talking COVID. And maybe you're wondering, what about COVID again? We've said all there is to say, but we haven't spoken about the Delta variant, have we? There you go.
And we haven't really talked about, I think there's that challenge of people really understanding what's at stake.
Well, unfortunately, Nigerians still believe that it is something distant.
There.
It's over there. You know, you can't catch us. We are in the sun. We're this, we're that. Oh, I reject it in the name of Jesus. Oh, Holy Spirit, take control. All those kinds of things.
It's not the same Holy Spirit that created the medical profession.
Well,
I'm just wondering.
Go and tell that to the Nigerian in the market who's walking around without a mask, who doesn't know anything about sanitizer or washing of his hands. Go tell that to him. Well, we have been told that there is now a variant of this virus, and it's called the Delta variant. And the number of those getting that particular variant is rising by the day. Hospitalizations are also rising, so much so that the federal government has raised an alert and designated some areas as red areas, and those areas include Lagos, Oyo, Rivers, Kaduna, Kano, Plateau, and the Federal Capital Territory. But what exactly is this Delta variant people are talking about? And how does it affect you? How can you get it? And how do you react to it? Well, we have people who should know this morning. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Olushola Sokefun, geneticist, lecturer, Department of Zoology and Environmental Biology, Lagos State University. Good morning, Doctor. We also have joining us from our Abuja studio, Professor Abdul Salami Nasidi, Provost, College of Health Science, University of Africa. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Dr. Tunji Funsho is also with us, and he joins us virtually, and he is chairman of the Nigeria National Polio Plus Committee of the Rotary International. Thank you very much for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you very much for having me on this program.
Great. Now, Dr. Sokefun,
Yes, ma'am.
as you may be well aware, people are going to be glued now trying to learn more about this Delta variant, because you all have told us that it is more virulent. So this thing seems to be mutating all the time. Tell us more about this Delta thing that is spreading, and it seems to be killing more people.
Thank you very much for inviting me. The last time I was here, I told you that it is normal for viruses to continue to change. And they will change basically to achieve 5 or 6 things. 1, become more transmissible from one species to another. 2, become more transmissible from a different species onto another. Because we know that the COVID virus is found in bats, and there has been no real history of its coming to man to this extent. So transmission from animals to man is a critical thing that, the virus has achieved through mutation. It will continue to mutate to try and avoid detection within the human antigen-antibody system. It will continue to change so that it cannot also be amplified using the reverse transcriptase system in the laboratory. Detection, when you test. So viruses change across time. There are currently over 5,000 variations in the 29,000 kilobases of the genome. So, this is not strange to science. It is common knowledge that that will continue to happen. What happens after these changes is the important thing. Does it become better adapted to being able to go from one person to another? Does it increase in its severity of the disease? These are some of the things that are important. There are several mutations that we have found in the genome that are not, that doesn't make it more suitable to cause disease, and it doesn't also aid its transmission. Okay. But the Delta variant is a significant one that has been found to increase the ability of the virus to go from one person to another. And then it has also increased the severity of the disease, especially in persons that are not vaccinated. And we should expect more of this as time goes on.
In persons that are not vaccinated.
Yes.
And we should expect more of it.
Oh, more of the variation, yes, because viruses are constantly changing. The genome is, though very small, but 29,000, 30,000 kilobases. But you see, the RNA core typically has some problems with transmission to the DNA when it replicates. And as such, you have several mistakes in the copy system, you know. It's like soldiers on parade, and then one falls. Of course, you know, the parade is distorted, and then it's arranged back, and distortion stays and all that, you know.
This picture you are creating in the head, it's scary enough on its own.
Exactly.
But let me ask Prof in our Abuja studio. Maybe this might be a quick digression, Prof. My concern right this moment is for the health workers who are on the front line of all of this conversation that we've been having over time. I'm just wondering, do they have as much fear? You know, because merely sitting here and listening to all of this soldier talk of Dr. Shukefun is scary enough on its own. I'm wondering, how are the health workers themselves who have to deal with the issues that people will have to bring on a daily? How do they take these on board? And what should they be thinking about? How should they protect themselves beyond, you know, the normal that they've been doing over time?
Well, thank you. As you may be aware, the virus, you know, does not know who is healthcare worker, who is not healthcare worker, who is this religion or that ethnic group, and so on. So it's a terrible, invisible enemy that deals with any human being it comes across. In fact, if you have to talk of fear and management of fear, you know, the healthcare workers are usually more scared of these deadly viruses and pathogens because they know what they can do. They know what these viruses and all these pathogens can do to the body. So they luckily themselves know that they shouldn't waste time, but to start doing everything possible to protect themselves because they are the frontliners. They can't run away from the war front. It's like the soldier. You know that you know, anyone who joins the military knows that one day he might be called to go and face the music. So the healthcare workers are there. They've sworn to the hypocritical oath, and they are never going to retreat under any threat by these terrible invisible enemies. So then, lastly, you know, the healthcare workers. You know, in some cases, especially if the threat is very high, are helped with some incentives to protect them, you know, to give them life insurance, as many countries are doing, hazard allowances, and so on and so forth.
Well, Prof, I'm also, I don't know how you would take this, but I mean, you administer a school, so to speak. How do the students react when you talk about these issues in the class? I mean, knowing that you are a soldier going to the war front and you're going to be fighting soldiers you can't see, that has to be something.
Yeah, the moment anybody signs in to go to read medicine, you should know that there are so many things that comes with it. The good, glorious name of being a doctor is there. Or a nurse or any healthcare workers at all. You are highly revered and respected by the society. A lot is expected of you. So most of those who come in to read medicine are usually tested by so many events, even before they become doctors or nurses. And an example is, you know, you can't be a doctor until you do anatomy. And if you are doing anatomy, that means you will come in contact with cadaver, and some students can't take it. So they all their lives want to be doctors, but when they enter medical school and they see the reality of what it takes to be a medical doctor, they get scared. If the students that remain and continue with the courses in medicine, are always, aware that, at any given time there is the professional hazard. You might maybe in the process of providing health or returning health to any sick person, yourself acquire such an infection and or a disease that might kill you. So I think it's frightening, but I'm very proud, to announce that virtually all medical students, all medical schools that I know, usually having students that are courageous and expecting this type of exposure.
Okay. Dr. Funshaw, there was something that Dr. Shokefun mentioned about this third wave. He seems to be saying that those who are unvaccinated seem to be in more danger, and yet only about 1% of our population is vaccinated. I mean, how are we going to deal with this?
That is why, thank you for that question, because, that is why it's scarier. I think to a large extent we focus, on the things we cannot attain in the short term. Let me put this in its proper perspective. You see, as Dr. Shokefun said, the virus, mutates. Even we as human beings, in order to exist as we are now from more than 2 million years ago when we evolved, we've changed our colors, from black to brown to yellow and so on. They are all with a view to make sure that we're able to survive the environment we find ourselves. Right now, most of the very virulent mutations are due to the same reason. And mutations will occur the more the transmission. That is why all the variants we've had have been coming from areas of high transmission. The first one, Alpha from the UK. Then we have Delta now, but between them we had the variant from Brazil, we had the variant from South Africa. All of them are in an attempt, to survive. And the more transmissions you have, the more the chances of these variants coming out. We've just been lucky that so far we've had only just one, this Delta, that is more transmissible. It replicates about 1,000 times more than the previous variants. And the easiest way for us to break this transmission is to avoid being infected by others who may either be carrying the virus asymptomatically, or they may have mild symptoms, or they may be recovering. And that is what we started with, which we did well with at the beginning, which is ensuring that we wear face masks, ensuring that we don't have large gatherings, particularly in an enclosed, environment, ensuring good hand sanitation, because those we can afford by and large. Vaccines are not going to get to the point where they're of any major use to us until perhaps the end of next year. We're expecting about 8 million doses by the end of August, we're told. That is just a drop in the ocean. Yes, vaccines do protect, but what we have on ground, 8 million doses, which will take till the end of the year, if we get it in August, to immunize people, is just nothing. So before we start talking about the vaccine protecting people, let us do the things that are possible to do now. Yes, vaccines do protect people, but even with that, it is not absolute. People who are vaccinated can still get the infection. It's just that they don't get severe infections that may lead to hospitalizations and deaths. But then when we have barely 2 million, Nigerians fully vaccinated at this point in time, from the public health point of view, it is zero. But for the personal point of view, those who are vaccinated should know that they are still at risk and should not expose themselves.
Okay. Dr. Shukifun, the WHO says that we need, well, at least African countries need about 21 million vaccine doses weekly for us to get to the point where we can relax a bit. But in Nigeria, we hear that only about 4 million people have been fully vaccinated. And right now, we've run out of vaccines. Even those who want to be vaccinated cannot be. That is also to say that there are many who don't even want to be vaccinated, even though Dr. Funsho is telling us that the vaccination protects us. Why do you think people are reluctant to get vaccinated? Even when the vaccination is available, people don't come forward.
Well, the issue of the extent of your education is important, how well informed you are. There are also several conjectures that are not true. For instance, you see the one on social media where someone puts a magnet and then it says that after taking the jab, a metal can stick on my arm and all that. There are several conjectures that are not really true. I must also add that a lot of things are currently unclear about the virus, especially because we don't do very deep research. So typically, it would be wrong to continue to interpolate results that you get in the UK, where the constituents of the people there are different from what we are in terms of our origin, how far we have evolved, our level of immunogenicity and all that. These are some of the critical issues that government needs to address. If I were to direct policy, I will also be a bit more divergent in terms of where I get my vaccines from. At the risk of advertising, there are vaccines in Cuba that are also very efficient, So instead of depending on the one from the US or the UK and all that, I would think that approaching such other countries where they have capacity may be also very important at this time, so that the thing can go, more.
Doctor, apropos, I'm sure you heard that story when it broke, that the AstraZeneca that was shipped to Nigeria was lower standard than the one approved by the European Union.
Again, these are conjectures. Nobody has proof. And we must be careful, the way we propagate these things.
Well, let me ask Prof this same question, because it's one thing to believe something. People will believe what the information they have based on the information that is available to them at any given time. So, Prof, talking about educating people about the virus, as Dr. Shukefun has said, and the need for all of the preventive measures, the vaccines, the NPIs, and all of that. There is that huge challenge of adequate information and adequate education. Sometimes, as Dr. Shukefun has said, sometimes you react to a thing based on the amount of information or education available to you. The people in the rural areas, for instance, largely, rural communities all over the nation, irrespective of what region or geopolitical zone it is, I don't know how well they are open to receive these things, because it's only in the urban centers mostly that you find people taking any form of preventive measures. In the rural areas, even in the urban centers, you find that many people don't use masks and all of those things. In the rural areas, it's almost completely unavailable.
You're absolutely right, but the key is, how the transmission of the relevant health education, health information that can save life is passed. We had an experience in Nigeria, or experiences, not just one, especially with the polio eradication, the health education, health promotion, and really mobilizing the communities to accept your public health interventions is very, very important. And we saw that, take for instance polio. If you make a mistake with small misinformation, you are in big trouble. We all remember how, large part of the country rejected the vaccine, believed that it has some ulterior motives to reduce the population of either Muslims or some groups, etc., and so on and so forth. And also we saw how even some, in the south, some, communities rejected some immunization programs because they brought with it information that it could, reduce their population. So, but our experience with Ebola showed that Nigerians can easily be mobilized if the right information is passed. Yeah. I think the health promotion that was pursued during that period was very effective. Both urban and rural areas, if you remember the story of SALT and Ebola and how people, did everything that they had from the healthcare workers, all the public health and social measures that were, propagated were accepted by Nigerians, and, there was a huge victory, against that disease. We knocked it off quickly. In the case of, COVID, the unfortunate incident, or what happened that is affecting people accepting both COVID as a disease and vaccination as a tool to fight it, is that with the advent of the COVID infection, as reported, this, just the same period, we started having lots and lots of conspiracy theories that are diverting people's attention to say that, hey, listen, ignore the COVID, it's not real, it's a hoax, don't believe in it. And many people, not only in rural areas, unfortunately, even in the urban areas, were listening to such conspiracy theories that were affecting the effectiveness of the health promotion that is going on. So effective communication is so important. And also, particularly if the health team is communicating one information or the other, and then the political group, is promoting something as it happened in the US, where, at a stage, even the president of a nation was embracing a conspiracy theory and saying that, oh, this is not this is not that. Then secondly, thirdly, what affects how people accept, health promotion and health communication is seeing what is happening on ground. For instance, not long ago in India and other countries that are now experiencing third wave, if you advise them, to go for vaccination and all this, many people were rejecting. There's very high level of vaccine hesitancy among the population of India, Indonesia, Thailand, and Tunisia, but now, and South Africa. But now that third wave came in and they realized that, the cases were increasing, deaths were increasing again, come and see queues of people now accepting, to be vaccinated, rushing, and, trying to get themselves and their families vaccinated. So we usually say that, right or correct information, correct communication in public health is as important as vaccine. So you do it rightly, you get the right result.
Well, that challenge isn't just going to be wished away, because the concerns you raised from our historical antecedents are there. Do you think there is any way in which those antecedents are still playing out now? I mean, the polio example you mentioned, for instance.
Yes, the beauty is, even if they come, we could use the same method we used to really get people convinced. And take, for instance, the polio issue, where, they convinced so many Muslim groups that, the polio vaccine could sterilize their women, etc. But when we use the appropriate approach, to reach the people and mobilizing the Sultan and getting, him to immunize the children and all this, and it changed. And, people's perception changed and things really went this. I'm sure my brother, Funshaw, Dr. Funshaw will agree with me that that helped Nigeria a lot in being able to get that wild virus out of our country. If we're going to see same type of developments with the COVID, the public health establishment, led by the Federal Minister of Health, I'm sure will embrace new strategies again that can help. Already that is happening. We're very happy that at least during this pandemic, what we used to have before, that the leaders were not leading the fight. This time around, the leaders are leading the fight. The governors are really, promoting, the public health response in their states. For instance, the FCT, we have the Minister of FCT that he doesn't even sleep. Every time he keeps asking, I hope we are doing the right thing to make sure that, this is not, going to devastate our state. Take, for instance, Lagos State Governor. He's doing so marvelously well that, it's like a governor and a public health officer at the same time. So we're proud of these people, and we at least we now have this that we are not going to be afraid if such beliefs are coming. We'll be able to work with our traditional rulers, our leaders, our religious leaders to fight such a development.
Well, gratifying to know that at least someone of your status will say that a governor who is not a medical doctor is now a public health official. Maybe you give him a title to the effect. But we'll get to that point. Right now, we all know, we started by saying, we were talking about the local government elections, some other people that want the jobs that the people of their various states and local governments will give them. Dare Idowu, our correspondent, is somewhere in Ogun State. He'll be able to tell us a lot of things. So, Dare, how far so far? Where exactly are you right now, and what's the mood before and until now?
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, Igbore Agoba in Abeokuta South in Ogun State, where the election has started. Of course, we traveled in from Lagos, and I need to give you some background to what happened before we got here this morning. Traveling in from Lagos, of course, the restriction of movement, you can see it in full effect. Very scanty cars on the road, so it seemed a lot of people complied with the stay-at-home order, as the case may be. So as we were driving into Abeokuta, the state capital, we saw the presence of soldiers meters away from where they are. There are road safety officials, also the mounted roadblocks at different points into the state capital. So basically, there's a very huge restriction of movement. Just in the inner roads, you can see a little bit of activities going on, but largely people complied with that. And when it comes to the voting, as soon as we got here, the voting had not started. So the process is people go there to check their name. It's the normal routine with the election routine. People go there, check their names. Once they are able to see their name, then they come to this desk where there are two men seated at the moment. That is where the voting proper takes place. Once they are certified that their names are on the register, they get whatever they needed to do. Then the boxes there, one reads chairman, the other reads councillor. So if you're voting for a councillor of your choice, you would have thumbprinted, then drop it in the appropriate box. So it's pretty much a very simple process. Easy as Sunday morning. People are coming in, just voting, and we're walking away. Of course, it is expected, because this is a local government election. It's not always as busy as the presidential or the governorship election. That is the situation. The mood has been quite, I can say, really quiet. People walking in quietly, going on with the business and going away. That's pretty much the mood around here this morning.
Yeah, Dare, what has the turnout been like?
Can you repeat that? Can you say that again, please?
What has the turnout been like? Turnout.
Okay, so the turnout here.
Turnout, yes.
Where we are at the moment, I said Igbore Agoba. Pretty much, I can say that, just like I said, because it's not a very busy atmosphere here. So it's not the turnout that you will see on a general election. It's not the turnout that you see in the presidential or the governorship election. it's pretty much people checking their names, then going to this desk and voting. Not a rowdy session. We haven't seen that much of a queue since we got here. The longest we've seen is 3-4 people on a queue at a time. So until we basically move away from where we are at the moment to also go check some other polling booths, it's hard to tell what the general turnout will be in this particular election. But where we are standing at the moment, we can tell you that, of course, people are voting quietly, peacefully, and they're hoping that the election will be free and fair at the end of the day.
Well, Dari, just a quick one before I let you go. It would seem like you are the only one using a mask around you there, and maybe except the polling officer, the electoral officers as well. It will seem like people are not even aware that there is a COVID-19 third wave in play.
I'm sorry, I can't hear the question.
Okay. Well, don't worry. Let's let you go right now, but I'm sure that we'll be able to get you back, you know, in time.
If I'm going to talk about the safety protocol, the COVID protocol around here,
yes,
it's nothing to write home about. Basically, a lot of the voting population around here the old, and from what we've observed, it's hard to see anyone wearing face mask. Pretty much, I can tell you that maybe the enlightenment or the education, voter education before now is not as apt as it should be, and almost everyone who walks around, they're walking without a face mask. So the COVID protocol may not really be in effect around here.
Well, Dari Edo, thank you very much. Most certainly we'll get more information from you as the day goes on. Dari Edo is our correspondent somewhere in some remote part of Ogun State right now. Well, Dr. Funshaw, in the course of doing all that you do, I'm pretty sure that you've had to move around a lot as well. Oh, by the way, could you quickly talk us through a video that you produced recently, you know, on the platform of Rotary International, just to understand exactly what the message is about and how are people supposed to react to it or act on it?
Well, you know, that video was in response to some of those conspiracy theories that Professor Nosidi, my very good friend, you know, alluded to. Because we're not communicating with all the facilities at our disposal. I'm talking about the government and all the other, you know, statutory players in the health sector. With all those resources at disposal, we're allowing a very small number of people, you know, to frustrate our efforts in getting people to come out and get vaccinated. And my message essentially, you know, is to encourage people to go and get vaccinated, because we know the virus itself, at the time I made the video, you know, has killed more than 3 million people. And the vaccine itself, at that point in time, there has been no credible information that the vaccine has killed a single individual. I made the video at the time when we were having this clotting thing, and there was a case in the United States that was still under investigation. And the point I was making is to debunk some of the conspiracy theories, you know, showing that vaccines work, and polio is a case in point. Africa was certified polio-free last year in August. By virtue of Nigeria, I haven't seen no case of polio for virtually 5 years. So we know vaccines work. We also know they are safe. And as Professor Nasidi, you know, alluded to, we need to communicate to people in the language they understand. We have the resources, but somehow, for me, it's very frustrating. Somehow, a very small group of people are able to frustrate our efforts to have a good public health intervention that ensures that majority of the population are covered. Traditional leadership in this country are a very vital channel of communicating, because one thing is to send messages out, but it's to send the message in the language they understand. You see, the conspiracy theorists are sending out frightening messages. You become a magnet. You die after 2-3 years. People identified with that. Ebola was very dramatic in the way it presented. And people were afraid that if they contract the disease, they were going to die. So there was an element of fear, and whatever we do, we must find the language, and I'm not talking about English or Yoruba or Hausa, the kind of language and the medium people understand to get educated to protect themselves. I think we're not doing a very good job of that at the moment, and I think we need to invest a lot in ensuring that we communicate to people in the language they understand, that will make them appreciate the need for them to protect themselves and the community in which they live.
Okay. Dr. Funsho, some of my friends have now resorted to double masking. Are they overdoing it, or is there double protection by doing that?
There's no really double protection by using, double masks. The important thing about masks is, to use them as sparingly as possible. I still maintain, the need for people to stay at home if they don't really need to go out. So the need for you to wear a mask is important. When you wear a mask for 4 to 6 hours continuously, it is a wise thing to change it. Double masks, you might as, get one of the P95s that has got filter in it, if you want to be sure of double protection. But the basic surgical mask is enough to protect you, because we don't want to put extra burden of cost, on people.
Well, perhaps that also, let me bring that to you, Dr. Shekefun. There are those who also fear asphyxiation. That if I use a mask, I'm not able to breathe well, and consequently, the mask, the face and nose mask, become chin masks, and in some cases they are completely removed. What do people do in that? What do they need to know, or is there anything they can do to make themselves feel better?
The normal 3-ply mask, allows you enough amount of oxygen to get into your system and all that. And this is important where you are in public places. If I'm in my room, for instance, I don't possibly need a mask. But if I'm going out to Mushi Market, for instance, or to Ingbo, and all that, where there are plenty of people and all that, I think I need to put it on. And there has been no major report of anybody possibly dying due to asphyxiation because the person is using the mask and all that. I've not seen any.
Well, maybe because people aren't using it for long enough.
Well, long enough is relative. Are you saying you are out all day and the mask has to be there and all that? I think it allows enough level of oxygen.
I'm trying to paint this picture so that at least people will know how safe and necessary it is. Because, for instance, for those who go to the office, they have to be in an 8-hour, on an 8-hour duty. But before they get to the office, they have to be in public buses, and on their way back, they have to be in public vehicles as well. So that's talking in the region of, say, 9-10 hours, depending on for how long.
I've not seen any report indicating that the person has passed on.
Okay, quickly, go ahead, sir.
Yes, it's just to remind us that, see, these face masks have been used, for decades and decades, in surgical theaters. And we all know that some surgeries go far beyond 5-6 hours. In some cases, surgeries have gone up to 10 hours, run by 2 or 3 or 4 sets of surgeons. And there has been no single report talking about asphyxiation and these people are working, on human beings. Now, if you had issues of asphyxiation which leads to low oxygen, which we call anoxia, you will have had reports of, surgeons fainting, on patients they're operating on. There has not been a single report of that.
Okay.
So it's just an excuse.
That's cheering, Dr. Funsho. That's cheering. But those doctors are in air-conditioned rooms. And but it's not the case for many people who have to wear masks to be in public vehicles and all of that. And just as you said, they breathe in the same air they breathe
breathe
out.
out.
So when they are wearing the masks, it's just part of the education that you talked about that I'm trying for you to give us here.
Yeah, that's not true, really. They don't breathe in the air, they don't breathe out the air they breathe in, because those masks, they are permeable. They are not plastic.
Okay.
And they are designed in such a way that you can take air in through them and also exhale air through them as well.
Okay. So there's no excuse.
It would be impossible, to.
All right. So there's no excuse for anyone. No excuse for anyone to not wear the masks.
Exactly.
Okay. Dr. Shokefa, I wanted to take you up on this because, also based on some of the things that Dr. Funshaw was talking about the other time. Hitherto, when the NCDC wanted to put out information, they used Twitter. And that helped a lot during the first wave and the second wave. People were able to access information readily. But it would seem like people can't even get any information now because there's a suspension of the activities of Twitter in Nigeria. Do you think that's in any way contributing to the fact that people are not able to get information?
That's not it. I mean, it's not contributing to it. 10% of Nigerians have access to Twitter. What happens to the remaining 90%? So Twitter or no Twitter, I mean, and I read in the papers from the Minister of Information saying that they didn't stop Nigerians from using Twitter. I don't know how far that is true, but I saw that in the papers.
Well,
so I mean, less than 5% of Nigerians have access to Twitter.
Okay.
About 30 million.
Yeah, the farmer in my village does
not have access to Twitter. Okay, Professor, before COVID, and I'm talking of around February, March last year, when COVID came upon us, and we were contemplating, okay, I mean, when it gets to Nigeria, we're all going to be dying like flies and all that. And then there was the lockdown, and we were not dying like flies. People then relaxed. Now, this Delta variant has come, and we are thinking again, maybe with this Delta variant, we're going to be dropping dead on the streets like flies. Is that a likelihood at all?
Well, that's a very tough question and very important question, because some people at the advent of the COVID outbreak or pandemic worldwide, forecasted that Africa and some other vulnerable countries will be most hit.
Yep.
And if we are not careful, people will be, falling and dying on the streets and so on and so forth. We came and saw the first wave, the second wave that hit African continent, and it looks as if, these first waves, this pandemic was, sparing Africa. So, to the extent that they were thinking, we started thinking maybe there's something that is protecting us in the continent, maybe either because we have younger population or we have thick skin, as some people are cracking jokes, and our hot weather, and so on and so forth. So also was India thinking. India was thinking, oh, no, look, the outbreak has come, we have vaccines. In fact, they manufacture vaccines, they do drugs, and they manufacture drugs against viruses and etc. So they felt they are a stronger nation, they will be able to weather the storm of COVID. And to the extent the leaders were saying, oh, we have done it well, we have overcome it in India, bye-bye COVID. Then Delta came in. Delta came into India, and we all saw what happened. It devastated India, and now the same Delta is devastating many other countries. It didn't come to Africa early. You can see what is happening in Indonesia, what is happening in even Malaysia now, and some other countries that are seriously affected. Then, when it's happening in India, we saw some people and how they are doing their cremation, their burial, and how it was virtually exponentially growing, to the extent that the whole nation, went into a state of fear. But nevertheless, they took courage and they did something. By the end of the day, they are recorded officially that 400,000 people died in India from that Delta attack. But non-officially, research by Indian people themselves has confirmed that, multiply that by 10. So maybe about 4 million Indians must have fallen under the hammer of this Delta variant, vicious variant. Sometimes about two months ago, it started knocking on the African door, started hitting South Africa. A South African second wave was going down, and they're already celebrating, and all of a sudden, they started seeing some peaks. And, you know, they have a very strong sequencing, molecular biology center in Durban. And they quickly, you know, analyze what is driving this wave that we are seeing. Is it the same virus or another variant? And they quickly confirmed that this third wave they are seeing in South Africa was actually driven not only by the lack of adherence, you know, or inconsistent adherence to public health and social measures, but that there's this new variant, the Delta Plus, is the one that is driving this third wave. And as I'm talking to you now, about 26 countries in Africa are already infected. Why are we worried? And why is it that it is very possible we have very bad situation if we don't do what we're supposed to do? Is that within the last 2-3 weeks, the number of cases that have been recorded by the WHO African region for the African continent has increased by about 77%. In Nigeria, in the last 1 week, about 70%. In the last 1 week in Nigeria, about 77% increase was seen. And I think we're already seeing that we are going into another exponential period where the growth will be going up so fast. But to just remind us, not long ago, we saw what happened in Tunisia. The first region of Africa that the Delta came in was South Africa. Then it crippled, went slowly into East Africa, affected Zimbabwe, Zambia, and increased their frequency of attack by more than 10 times. Now, it came into West Africa. So, we thought still it would not be as overwhelming as it's now happening, and it entered Tunisia, and within 2 weeks, knocked off Tunisia's health system. Their health system collapsed. They needed oxygen they didn't have. They have to fly oxygen for them from a distance and so on and so forth. All hospitals were overoccupied. So many cases and deaths. As someone in Tunisia said, they have never seen that type of death in their entire history. So it's very possible that Africa could be hit more than we are thinking. So, and we should not, put down our guards and thinking that, it might not happen. So if I tell people, if people talk to me to say, hey, these people who predicted that people will be falling and die in Africa, shame on them, I said, yeah, maybe shame on them, but don't laugh at them yet. Don't laugh at them yet. Let us make sure that we prevent it, we stop it. The Delta has consolidated. It's already in 26 countries in Africa, including Nigeria, and it's hitting areas with big population and big entry points. Take, for instance, Lagos. Lagos has the largest airport in our country, the largest seaport, and very wide land borders. And of course, the population density is so high. So we pray this doesn't have a foothold on our population in Lagos. Amen. If you take, for instance, Kano, you have very densely populated group there, also population, state, and with a huge international airport also. So the Delta, the third wave that we're experiencing now is not yet slowing down, is growing fast, driven by Delta variant of the virus, which is now with us, and also our inconsistency in abiding by the public health and social measures that have been used. As Dr. Funsho said, whether you have been vaccinated or not, whether you know so much about COVID or not, do not forget the hand washing, the mask using, and social distancing. Okay. Unfortunately, in the last 2 months in Nigeria, we have experienced several super spreader activities that might make this to fuel, that might fuel this outbreak if you are not careful.
Okay.
Well, Prof,
I
heard you say something now that's a
barriers.
little. I heard you say something now that's a little scary. Dr. Shukov, you heard him mention. I just heard Delta Plus, and then I heard 77%.
77%. Yes.
Now those are scary figures.
Well, there are controversies here and there. For instance, the Idel Malud, or what the recent Muslim festival, may also be a factor. People threw their guards to the wind. They had to go to the markets where rams are sold. Then we had parties that we didn't have masks and all that.
So those are the super spreader events.
Yeah, those are some of the things that, may contribute to the current increase in the incidences that we are seeing.
Okay.
The issue of what strain or species or, whether it's Delta or the thing that is also another controversy in that science has to resolve.
The consensus is that there is now a mutated version in Nigeria.
There's been several mutations, 5,000 so far recorded.
Okay.
5,000 mutations.
Yes, 5,000 mutations.
Just if you can just do this very quickly, because I know that we have just about 2 minutes.
Yes.
There are those who are concerned that the vaccine that is out, I think we've talked about this before, was to address the first strain. And now this is you said the 5,000.
There are 5,000 mutations in the genome of the spike protein that's been recorded.
Now, this one, you guys tell us it's the most deadly so far.
Yes.
Are you sure? Is there confirmation scientifically or whatever that this one, as deadly as it is, the first vaccine, is able to tackle it?
No vaccine is 100% efficient. So if a vaccine is 80% efficient, you need to vaccinate 60% of the population to really say, well, we have done it. Nobody is safe until everybody is safe. This is a general rule.
Okay.
And
Yes, where are we regarding the making of vaccines in Nigeria? I think I heard Professor Adeyeye say something about it not long ago.
That's a policy thing, but I think we should also pace up with that. If I needed to drive a Mercedes-Benz, I can fly to Germany and buy. But the vaccines are currently in very high demand all over the world. And you must, place an order and then wait for 2-3 months. So we must also step up our game in our being able to produce a vaccine in Nigeria. That's also very, very important. So that we are not dependent on, we have to wait until September when we can get enough and all that.
And we're still waiting for free vaccines, by the way, from COVAX. Dr. Funshaw, your parting shot on this. The third wave is here. What should we be doing to protect ourselves further?
Well, no matter what strain of the virus we have, we don't want to be infected by them. Predominantly, Delta is the predominant virus now that is constituting about 80% of cases. But then we still have, the original, virus. That also can infect you, can make you very sick, can kill you. So my message is, let us do what is available to us now. Let us protect ourselves from getting the virus from any infected person who may be showing symptoms or not showing symptoms by wearing our masks, staying away, from crowded environment as much as we can, observe, hand washing, and avoid gatherings.
Okay.
Then, when vaccines are available, take your vaccines. It protects you, but it does not protect you absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much. Professor Nasidi, in 20 seconds, please.
Well, I would like to join the two previous speakers that we need a lot to do to help, but I think we should divide it into two. Everybody has his role. The masses should do and make sure that this disease is not yet gone. Please abide by the public health and social measures, the washing of hands and wearing masks, etc., and so on and so forth. And the government should double up. That is their own role, to go and get these vaccines. We shouldn't be waiting for the needed vaccines. And I'm happy Dr. Shomekun was saying, we cannot wait for 2, 3, 4 months. We're at zero vaccine situation. which shouldn't have happened. I think the public should do their part, the government should do their part. And that is to assure Nigerians that they will get these vaccines either through donation or procurement. I think that is the message. Thank you.
Dr. Shokefun, your own closing shot might be a little different. Just in the course of the week, we recorded more than 300 deaths from, we were told that there have been more than 300 deaths from cholera. And in 3 months, about 60 or thereabouts in maybe 1 or 2 states. What should we be doing?
Well, access to potable water is important. Cholera has to do with the state of the environmental health. Once there's access to potable water that is clean and is free of germs, there shouldn't be any outbreak of cholera. I think we still have a lot to do as a nation to secure our population from the many vagaries that we have around us. Cholera is just one of them. The COVID is another. There are several others that are not recorded, currently.
Dr. Olushola Shokefun, geneticist and lecturer, Department of Zoology and Environmental Biology, Lagos State University. Dr. Tunji Funsho, Chairman of Nigeria National Polio Plus Committee of Rotary International, joined us via Zoom, and Professor Abdulsalami Nasidi, Provost, College of Health Science, University of Africa, was in our studio in Abuja. Thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us to talk about this third wave. Sunrise will return in just a moment. Do remain with us.